Okay, hello and welcome to the video. Once again, my name is Wade Daniel Smith, and this is a discussion about Isshinryu Karate using the Leverage television show as a fulcrum, I suppose. So, if you've ever seen Leverage, there's a character named Elliot who is a ridiculously good martial artist, and I'm not exactly sure what his backstory is, but apparently he was some kind of assassin at one time, and then he turned good later. All right, but anyway, the Leverage show is a little bit sophomoric because they portray the heroes as complete geniuses, but since people don't understand what a genius really is, the only way to portray what a genius is to make all the villains look like complete fools anyway. So that's one of the flaws of the show. Just like, Born Identity, Matt Damon's character is not even that brilliant in the show, but they make him look like a genius by making all the villains look like complete fools. It's the only way that people know how to understand what a genius is. In reality, a genius can beat 10 or 20 of Jason Bourne. All right. Do you understand? And in reality, a genius could probably beat Elliot. But anyway, is it possible to be as good of a fighter as Elliot is in the Leverage television show? And the answer is definitely. All right. Because I know whenever I was 20 years old, I could beat two real second dan black belts attacking me simultaneously from different sides. And I could get hold of one of them and wrist lock him and use him as a human shield against the other one and beat both of them into submission. So, yes, it's possible to be about as good as Elliot is portrayed to be in that show, where he could beat two security guards armed with batons or knives, even in that show, and he had no weapon. They could even both draw knives, and he could beat both of them, and I can do that. I can take and give the second degree black belts a screamer sticks and tell them to attack me and disarm one of them and take the stick away and wrist lock him with my other hand and kick his guts out while still parrying the other guy's stick. Is how good I used to be. All right. I didn't tell you that in the other video, but I've done that one before too, where Sensei literally gave them both the screamer sticks and told them to attack me, and I disarmed both of them eventually. All right. So, yes, it's possible to be as good as Elliot is portrayed to be in Leverage at martial arts and have two assassins attack him simultaneously with daggers and him beat both of them with no weapon in his hand. All right. Yes, it's absolutely possible to do that, especially as sometimes it's in a closed space, such as a hallway or a stairway, and he's really only got to fight them one-on-one, two back to back. But in some scenes, he actually beats them when they come at him from two directions with weapons. He'll still beat both of them. All right. And they also portray Elliot as a true hero because he'll take a bullet to save the girl in one episode. And he knew he had to take a bullet to beat the bad guy. And he took the bullet, and the bad guy hit him in the arm, I think. And he still managed to beat the villain when he reached him and disarmed the gun from him. But the point is, and that's possible too, it's just extremely risky because if he hits you in the vital organ, you're dead anyway, no matter how big a hero you are. But that is possible to do, to still win a fight after you've been wounded. All right. But how do you fight against somebody? They don't know how to portray this correctly in Hollywood. But how do you fight somebody in a knife fight? This is in a screamer stick, by the way. This one is 28 inches, I think. And how do you fight somebody in a knife fight if you don't have a knife, or whether or not you have a knife? You definitely want to keep your jab hand out, and you want to keep your rear. You want your elbow blocking your ribs so you don't get stabbed in the ribs. You want your rear hand over your heart, because if you get stabbed in the heart, you're kind of fucked, right? So you want your rear hand over your heart and your rear elbow covering your liver as much as possible. Because if you get stabbed in the heart, or if you get stabbed in the liver, you're not necessarily dead, but you're going to be in so much pain that you will be dead the next time the guy stabs, because you're going to be defenseless. So don't get stabbed in the heart for sure, or the lungs, and don't get stabbed in the liver. Keep your rear hand over your heart and keep your jab hand out to parry the knife. And that's the only chance you got. All right. And when they stab, you have to 3D evade, 2D evade, whatever, parry, catch the knife, and disarm the knife. Maybe kick them in the torso while you disarm the knife for the first attacker. All right. And that's doable. I can do it against a second degree black belt that's not intentionally giving a vulnerability. He can be trying to keep me from disarming him, and I can disarm him anyway. I've done it dozens of times, in fact. All right. So, yes, it's possible to be as good as Elliot and disarm 2 security guards that draw nightsticks or daggers or even guns, all right, and beat them, especially in close quarters where it's hard for them to aim the gun and you can get hold of one of the guns and shoot the other guy with the gun and disarm that guy from his pistol. All right, that is physically possible. We've proven that an Isshinryu black belt, because they tested this, my sensei did, against the Hammond Police Department right here in Louisiana in Tangipahoa Parish. They had the Hammond Police Department come in with empty guns, but that then in the time that he tried to pull the trigger, my sensei could disarm the police officer before the firing mechanism triggered. All right, so this guy is trying to squeeze his trigger finger, and my sensei could just grab the gun and rip it out of his hand and be aiming it back at him before the firing mechanism even went off in the gun. Is how fast we got to disarming people. He was that fast, and some of his students were almost that fast, that we could rip it out of their hand before they could even pull the trigger. All right, and because we drilled how to disarm a gun from a single armed attacker over and over. And, you know, we assume that you go ahead and shoot the guy in both knees with his own weapon and then call 911 and tell him that you shot him with his own weapon in self-defense. That's how we drilled anti-gun defense. All right. Yes, it's possible to be as good or better than Elliot in the Leverage television show at fighting.